What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be going over what's called the 3-tier bucket system. And this is a very cheap and simple way that you can raise worms and collect castings at home for your garden and plants. So all you're going to need is you need 3 buckets, some bedding for your worms, and then a drill to drill some holes in the top lid of your 3-tier system. And then you're also going to have some holes drilled in the bottom of 2 of your buckets so your worms can migrate from one to the other. First thing is your bottom bucket. And your bottom bucket, you're not going to have to mess with at all. The purpose of the bottom bucket is to just collect any excess moisture that's in the bin. So you're going to actually leave this one empty, and you're not going to drill any holes in the bottom. So this is the easiest part. The next step is the second bucket, and this is where all of the work is going to be done by your worms. So the first step in your second bucket, which is going to go on top of your first one, is you're going to need to drill some holes in the bottom. And this is going to be for the excess moisture to drain into your bottom bucket. And also, this will eventually be on the very top of your 3 buckets. And your holes are going to need to be big enough so that the worms can go from one bucket to the other whenever they're done eating everything that's in the first bucket. So we're going to go ahead and drill some holes into this one right now. So you want to make sure you got plenty of holes in the bottom. That way, if there's any pockets of moisture, they're going to be able to drain properly. And then also, you want the holes big enough to where the worms are going to be able to fit through. So we used a 1/4 inch drill bit for this, and that is plenty big for the worms to migrate from one bucket to the other. So now that we got our holes drilled in our second bucket, we can go ahead and put that on top of our first bucket here. So now the next step is going to be adding bedding. We like to use compost. We have an outside compost pile that we keep going, and we like to pull from that. We'll sift out any of the big pieces out of there, and then we'll put that in there. You can also use stuff like leaves, cardboard, peat moss, pretty much anything that you can pick up outside from your yard. The only thing you got to watch for the bedding is your mixture between greens and browns. You don't want too much of a mixture like you would with an outside compost pile, because that's just going to cause the bin to heat up, and you don't want that for a worm bin. So right here we've got our bedding material, and this is the stuff that we've pulled from our compost pile. So we're going to go ahead and add some water to this and then add to the bucket. For the correct moisture level, we found that a 3-to-1 ratio of bedding to water works really well for us, but you can kind of play around with that and see what works best for you as well. So we're going to go ahead and add some water. Now we're going to mix all that together. Okay, so once you've got it mixed in real well, we can go ahead and put it into our second bucket. So after you've added your bedding to your bucket, you can go ahead and add your worms. So we like to keep the bucket about half full, so about 2.5 to 3 gallons. So we usually put in right around 250 worms into our bucket here. So this is the worms here. I'm going to add those in. After that, all you got to do is drill some holes into a lid. That way they get plenty of air in the bucket. So you can put that on top. And then you can leave this sit for a while. So you'll want to feed them about every 2 to 3 days. Don't want to feed them more than that, because then the food will start to rot or mold, and you don't want that in your worm bin. Your worms won't want that either. So you'll leave this for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll get a third bucket and we're going to do the same thing. So after 2 to 3 weeks, you can go in and take a look to see how your worms are doing. And what you're looking for is you're basically seeing, have they eaten pretty much all of the bedding that you put into the bucket, or is there still quite a bit left along with food scraps and stuff like that? So if it looks like they've pretty well eaten the majority of what you put in there, then it's time to add your third bucket. And then I've got a third bucket here ready to go. And all you want to do with this is add some bedding material along with some water like we did with the last one. And then you can go ahead and put some food scraps or something else for them to eat on in here as well. You don't want to add any worms to this bucket. So all you're going to do then is you're going to take this one and then put it on top of your second one. Also make sure you have holes drilled in the bottom of this one as well. So then what's going to happen is your worms that are in your second bucket, once they're done eating everything in that one, they're going to then migrate up to your top bucket and then start working on that. So all you do then is put the lid on, and then you can leave that sit for another week or so. Okay, so now we're going to start talking about how you can start collecting your castings. And if you're doing the 3-tier bucket system, collecting castings is actually very easy. So all you're going to do is, after they've sat with the third bucket on top for a while, is you're going to remove the third bucket, set that out of the way. And at this point, the majority of your worms, if not all of your worms, have migrated to your top bucket. And so now your second bucket inside of here is all of the castings that they left behind. So it should be ready to go. And all you got to do is just take this straight from the bucket, and then you can put it on your plants. If there's anything in here that they might not have broken down all the way, or maybe they left a little bit of food scraps behind, you can just take that and put it into your top bucket and just repeat the process. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, be sure and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, be sure and leave a comment below, and we'll try and get those answered for you. See you guys next time.